Good morning and welcome to Rising. We have a great show for you today. I'm Amber Duke, back at the desk with Niall Stanage. Niall, good morning.
Great to see you, Amber. It's been a little while since we were reunited for our Friday discussions.
Reunited, and it feels so good.
Absolutely. Ready to go for it. And we have a lot to talk about today, beginning with this. He came, he cut, he left. It's Elon Musk's last day working in the White House. While some may be grieving and others may be celebrating, President Trump is set to hold a joint press conference with Musk later today. Trump writes on Truth Social, "He will always be with us, helping all the way. Elon is terrific."
The press conference is set to take place at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, which you can watch on thehill.com. It comes after Musk has voiced criticisms of Trump's big, beautiful bill. Earlier this week, he told CBS his grievances. Let's watch.
Disappointed to see the massive spending bill, frankly, which increases the budget deficit, not just decrease it, and undermines the work that the DOGE team is doing. I think a bill can be big or it can be beautiful, but I don't know if it can be both.
Musk's departure comes as the New York Times published an explosive article today outlining his alleged drug use on the campaign trail last year. The article alleges Musk frequently uses ketamine, ecstasy, psychedelic mushrooms, and Adderall. Meanwhile, some on social media are criticising Musk's work in DC. Congresswoman Melanie Stansbury, who serves as the ranking member of the DOGE subcommittee, writes, "Elon Musk has exited the building, but make no mistake, this fight is not over."
Others are praising Musk's performance. Texas Senator Ted Cruz says Elon Musk spent 4 months rooting out massive waste, fraud, and abuse. The American people ought to say thank you to Elon.
Well, I'm sure we're going to have a vigorous disagreement, I suspect, on Elon Musk's role. Why don't you go first? I assume you're broadly pro-Elon?
Broadly pro. I mean, I think that he did a lot of work in exposing waste, fraud, and abuse in the government, but ultimately, if it doesn't get passed by Congress, then none of these cuts actually get made into reality. And one of the arguments from Stephen Miller, one of the top aides to President Trump, is that, well, this bill, the big beautiful bill, was focused on mandatory spending. The DOGE cuts have to come through discretionary spending or a rescissions process, so that's why they're not in this bill. But I think Elon Musk is probably frustrated by the fact that he's been effectively the meat shield for Trump. He's been the guy getting the bulk of the negative opinions about the administration. His Tesla stock has been not doing well, thanks to both his role in the admin as well as the protest against Tesla. And if you're a billionaire and you're one of the richest guys in the world who wants to focus on space exploration and building electric vehicles, then you don't really need to be in an admin where maybe your efforts aren't super appreciated by Congress. And so I'm not all that surprised that he ended up dipping out.
So even though I think we probably disagree in our fundamental views of him, because I think I'm much more negative toward him than you are, I broadly agree with the argument you just made, which is that these cuts that he wishes to see enacted haven't really been enacted as yet. And there is also, of course, the question that if you really want to curb government spending to the extent that he claims you want, then actually you do need to get into things that are very sensitive, whether that's defense spending or so-called entitlement spending. That's a whole other debate. My basic view of him is that he bought influence in the government by spending so lavishly to help President Trump get elected last year. Over $250 million on that. He then is at the heart of government trying to enact these various cuts, and he also has the muscle to get regulators off his back, essentially, to get regulatory actions paused or stopped where his companies are concerned. Now, yes, I know there are rich benefactors of the Democratic Party, there are rich donors to any person running for high office in this country. But I think that Musk's spending secured him that position. I think some of the cuts have been pretty disastrous in terms of USAID, which, again, I know we disagree on. But the basic point here is he has overpromised in terms of the cuts that he initially suggested. And to my mind, he has bought himself a position where he can help his own companies by virtue of spending so much money on the president's election.
I do think it's true that he overpromised. On the point about the spending and buying the position, I mean, based on the interviews that I've seen, I do think he's sincere about this goal to cut spending. I mean, the fact that he was willing to criticize the big, beautiful bill at the expense of potentially his position in government suggests to me that there is a real motivation to impact these issues that, to me, is more important to him than the regulatory issues, because now that he hasn't been able to get those cuts codified through Congress, not only is he leaving, but he's also pulling back his spending on the Republican Party. So there's no long-term effort for him to keep this influence, which if that was the chief thing of importance to him, I think he would continue to spend, continue to try to be in Trump's good graces effectively, and instead he's been openly critical of the fact that this hasn't really gone anywhere.
I guess I'd somewhat counter that, Amber, by arguing that the reason he is departing in specific terms is because he has this special government employee status. And one of the reasons it is widely assumed he chose that kind of status is because it doesn't come with the kind of financial disclosure requirements that do come if you're a fully paid up member of the government, so to speak, if you're a cabinet secretary or something of that nature. Now, that being said, I wouldn't completely dismiss your argument about does he have a sincere belief in the cuts as well. I don't think the two things are necessarily mutually exclusive. And, you know, we do see, I feel like almost any time people talk about things like fiscal conservatism, you know, half the public falls asleep because it sounds so sort of unexciting. But it is a fact that the United States keeps adding to its debt to a very dangerous degree, is now spending more on servicing its debt, on paying the interest essentially, than it's spending on defense, for example. And that can't continue indefinitely, and that's a rare point of agreement between myself and Elon Musk.
Yeah, I mean, I think if there was anything that was beneficial from Elon Musk's tenure, it's that he exposed government waste in a way that was very sexy, right? He was able to identify certain programs that hit on these key buzzwords like DEI or woke things or Pride months being celebrated at the FBI and things of that nature, that people who voted for Trump because of some sort of cultural backlash to those ideas found really compelling. Whereas when you go back to the Tea Party, it was all about, well, Social Security is going to be insolvent. Like, yes, that's true, but it's not as exciting as we found this $30 million program that is going to, let's say, like social reorganization in foreign countries. That's a lot more exciting to just the casual observer of politics and is a really splashy headline. And so I think he kind of made government cuts cool again, in a sense.
Sure. I mean, I think he did to the Republican base, to the Trump base. I think he also incited a lot of opposition to that, which is why we see his approval ratings being, you know, worse than Trump's often. And I was looking at a poll just last night for a piece I was writing, particularly unpopular with women. I mean, like 40 points underwater. So I think there are complications to his role, but we've come to some measure of agreement, even as we disagree about his broader impact. Still ahead, Harvard President Alan Garber taking a subtle shot at President Trump. His commencement speech next.